Okay. All right, this time we'll call the meeting of the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments and Naugatuck Valley MPL to order. Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have one presentation. Yeah, from the city of Ansonia. I am acting with Mayor Cassetti's proxy today. From the town of Beacon Falls, I know we have Mike Kraneski on the line. Is Jerry Smith on the line? First Selectman Smith. From the town of Bethlehem.
Here.
Okay, online. Christine. From the city of Bristol, Mayor Caggiano is not able to join us today. From the town of Cheshire, I believe we're joined by Town Manager Sean Kimball.
I am here. Yep. Good to see you.
Welcome, Sean. And from the city of Derby, Mayor Zekin.
Here.
From the town of Middlebury, we have First Selectman St. John.
I'm here.
Yes, you are. From the borough of Naugatuck, Mayor Hess.
Here.
From the town of Oxford, First Selectman Temple.
Here.
From the town of Plymouth, is Mayor Kilduff on the line?
Go.
From the town of Prospect, Mayor Chatfield.
Here.
We know that area. Town of Seymour, First Select Woman Dragonis. From the city of Shelton, Mayor, we're ready. From the town of Southbury, First Selectman Manville.
Here.
Thank you, sir. From the town of Thomaston, First Selectman Moan.
Here.
From the city of Waterbury, Mayor O'Leary is attending his daughter's graduation today, so he will not be with us. And just a note on the agenda, he asked me to remove the opioid settlement discussion for the next meeting, and he wants to meet with First Selectman Temple and Mayor Dunn before then. From the town of Watertown, is Mark Raymond with us? Okay, thank you. From the town of Wokup, Mayor Dunn is with us.
Yep.
Town of Woodbury, First Selectman Perkinson.
Here.
Thank you. And we're also joined today by Steve Sullivan from Eversource, who's here with Jeff Pugliese, Kevin Tedesco from Connecticut DOT, and online we have Jameson Folk from Senator Murphy's office, Lou Mangini from Congresswoman DeLauro's office. I'm not sure that I missed anyone else that's invited us. Okay, we have a quorum present for both bodies. Mr. Sullivan, you're up.
Thank you. Just want to start by saying thank you for having me here today. It's really just to open up lines of communication. As you said, I'm Steve Sullivan. I'm responsible for Eversource Connecticut Electric.
Yeah.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Jeff Pugliese, Director of Community Relations for Eversource. It's great to be back in Naugatuck Valley. I love it dearly. So, keep back to you. Thanks.
So when I looked at I just saw your agenda yesterday, and I have to admit, I said, wow, these folks have their work cut out for them. And then I looked at my subjects and I said, I could show up an hour. So don't panic. I won't do that. I probably will just touch on rates then, do a time check. And if we have time, I'll move into storm response. I'm guessing those are your two top topics, if you will. And first, I would just throw out some stats. So Connecticut, Eversource Electric, 1.3 million customers. Huge overlap, I would say, for most of your constituents are probably our customers. We have over 4,000 Connecticut-based employees. The vast majority of those actually live in Connecticut, and just no stats on this, but pure anecdotal, I know a lot of them are from this part of the state. In terms of investment, $1.4 billion last year, just on the electric side in the transmission and distribution areas to strengthen the electric grid. And then, and I think that really does contribute to the economy. And then further in terms of that, in terms of contributions, just property taxes alone, over $270 million last year. So for most of you in this room, we're probably your #1 taxpayer. And for those that we're not, I'm pretty sure we're in the top 5. So we like to think we're contributing. In terms of rates, pure coincidence on the timing that the summer rate decrease just got announced the other day. So most of our customers, your constituents, will see approximately a 22% decrease in the rates, which if usage stayed flat, would represent about $56 per month in terms of a decrease. We do caution our customers, though, that decrease lines up with July 1st, which of course is the summer heating season and the summer AC cooling season. Folks tend to use a lot more electricity in the summer. So those two factors could very well balance themselves off when it comes to raw dollars. And I should say, last winter, when the supply prices spiked significantly, we went to great pains to explain, quite frankly, that's not us. We're not in the supply business. We have nothing to do with that rate increase. And I should say, now that the rates are going down, I should say the same thing. It's not us. That's the supply side. That's why the rates are going down.
So if I may interrupt, what's driving that?
Let me.
I know the market drives everything, but.
Let me actually unpack rates, and I'll get to that, if you will.
Yep.
So if you look at your rates, first of all, if you look at the bill, there's a bunch of line items on there that are acronyms that are very confusing. I've been in this business 30 years. I can't follow those acronyms unless I have a decoder ring or a cheat sheet with me. If you do have that decoder ring, though, those rates, they break out very clearly into 3 categories: a supply, who generates the electricity, who makes the electricity; delivery, how did the electricity get from those generators to your constituents, our customers. And there is a third piece there, public policy. And pretty clearly on your bill, when you get your bill, you see supply, you see delivery. But you should be aware that inside that delivery, there is a public policy piece that on average is about 20% of that delivery piece. And if I just move through those 3, public policy is exactly what it sounds like. It comes from our regulators, either PURA or the legislature. In most cases, it's a combination of both of those. And they fall into 2 camps. One is pure assistance. So for folks who are income qualified, it's helping them essentially pay their electric bills. The others are more long range, kind of looking forward to the future, and their incentives that are really trying to move Connecticut faster towards a clean energy economy. So those are really the public policy pieces. It's important to note, Eversource, the public policy piece is a pure pass-through. So about 20% of what's labeled delivery, pure pass-through. We do not make any money off the public policy piece. That middle piece, delivery, that's all Eversource. So that's comes in 2 flavors: transmission and distribution. Transmission gets the power from the generating plants to the local substations, and then distribution gets it from the local substations to our customers, your constituents. That's all. That is Eversource. That is where we essentially make all of our money. So that's where that $1.4 billion that we invest in the system comes from that delivery component minus the public policy. The ability to employ those 4,000 employees comes from that piece as well. And in terms of whether you call it profits or shareholder returns, that all comes from that delivery piece, less the public policy piece. And now the third component, and this will really get to your question, is the supply side. So the supply side is actually where you make the electricity, the power plant. So the millstones of the world, if you will. However, the New England region, there's really only 2 nuclear power plants left, Millstone and Seabrook. And the coal-fired power plants have all retired. The oil-fired power plants have almost all retired. The ones that are left, they really they run as peakers. That's really all they are. So the majority of our electric generation in New England comes from natural gas-fired power plants, to the tune of about 50% of the total New England supply. That works out quite well for us in the summer because there's plenty of natural gas to get to those power plants. And with the whether you call it discovery or ability to access shale gas, those prices are relatively cheap and those gas plants are very efficient. However, in the winter, those gas plants, when they came online over the last 20 or 30 years, they didn't build any new big gas transmission lines to get to their plants. They're not regulated. It's a competitive market. They're not obligated to run 24/7 by 365. They can run or they cannot run. That's their choice. So in the winter, that gas goes first to the residential customers for heating and some manufacturing plants. So if we have a cold snap in the winter and everybody's cranking their heat to keep their homes warm, there literally is not enough gas left over to go to those gas-fired power plants. They have two choices. They either come offline, they don't generate. So when you're responsible for 50% of the power, that's a bad day for the New England region. That is why last year we talked about the potential for controlled rolling outages. But more likely, what they've historically done and what they more likely will do is they turn to liquefied natural gas, so LNG. LNG is a worldwide commodity. As you know, it goes on large tanker ships and it can go to Asia, it can go to Europe, or it can come up here to the Northeast. And for a variety of reasons, well, we all can guess what they are. Europe last year used a lot more LNG, and they were actually planned to use a lot more than they ended up using. So those generators, they have to factor that in when they're putting their pricing together. They have to factor in, we might not get natural gas. We might have to run LNG. LNG is a worldwide commodity. Price absolutely went through the roof last winter. And that's essentially what drives that winter price spike, if you will, if that gets to your question. I will say Eversource, we do go out into the market to buy that supply, to buy generation, if you will. And that's because the majority of our customers do not take advantage of energizect.com. They do not go out and get their own supplier. I don't go out there. 80 to 90% of our residential customers don't. So somebody has to do that. And the way it's set up is the local utility, in this case, Eversource, is the supplier of last resort, or what's sometimes called default service or standard service. So what we do twice a year from January through June, and then July 1st through the end of the year, we go out to bid in an open marketplace. We get that pricing from generators, really third-party aggregators. The Office of Consumer Counsel, the OCC, is involved in that. They get to see that process. They see all those bids. And Pura is also involved in that. And Pura ultimately improves that rate. And again, on the supply side, it's a pure pass-through for Eversource. We do not make any money on the supply side. You know, when I talk to customers about this, it's such a difficult conversation. Yes, the bill all comes from Eversource. Yes, you write the check to Eversource. That's really the way it's designed, so the customers are not getting multiple bills, so that they get one bill. And then in the back room, we're giving that up and sending the supply amount to the suppliers. And then on the public policy side, that's really a shift among customers. It's a shift among those that qualify for low income. And it's a shift among those who are taking advantage of incentives to move towards a clean energy future. And it's moving those dollars between different rate classes. So you know, again, that rate's a very confusing subject. Tried to break it down as best I could. And open to any question.
Question that I might have, and it's not specifically rate related. Well, it is indirectly. We're making any headway on Canadian hydropower. I know that it's tied up with transmission lines in Maine, New Hampshire, and so on and so forth. But are we making any headway there? Because that could be a boon for New England, certainly in terms of the electricity that is being sold.
Yeah. No, excellent question. I mean, I would even back up beyond that. We tried to bring a new gas line into the area a few years ago.
Can't do that either.
Couldn't get it permitted. Somebody else tried to bring a gas line in a couple of years ago, couldn't get it permitted. I agree with you.
Yeah, I know, and that's why we rely so much on LNG, which is a worldwide commodity.
Not going to happen. You're right. It's not going to happen. You probably know Northern Pass. We tried to bring a line down from New Hampshire to access that excess hydropower, which is up in Canada, Quebec. We could not get it permitted. However, Avangrid did get a line permitted through Maine. You're probably aware that it was then challenged, stopped in court, actually had a resolution in Maine ballots, got shot down, got stopped. But then the courts have now approved it to move forward again. So I don't think physically that they have, but I suspect that they, over the next few months, they will move forward with that. And that will help. That line alone is not sufficient, but every little bit helps. There is another line that a company is interested in building through Vermont to do the same thing, to access that power up in Quebec. And that line is permitted. It looks like that line is going to start construction. So if those two lines get built, it doesn't solve the problem, but it's a big piece to bring that amount of power down.
And that'll put it all onto the New England grid that we're all a part of.
Exactly. Brings it all into the New England grid. It's all from a transmission and generation level, all interconnected. And as you look forward towards the future, I mean, that's where we're going, right? Eventually, all of these gas-fired power plants will eventually retire as well, as will eventually these nuke plants. What the thing that folks should be aware of when you look towards the future is those traditional power plants tended to be located right near the load. If you look at where power plants are, they're either close to cities or they're right around the corner and out of sight of the city where the load is. But in the future, it's obvious, our power is going to come from offshore wind, which it's obvious where that is, or it's going to come from this hydro, which is significantly to the north of us, or onshore wind, which again is likely to be located to the north of us or well to the west of us. So from a transmission grid perspective, we'll have to go much longer distances to get access to that clean energy, to get it into the New England region. And also, because clean energy has what's called a low capacity factor. In other words, it's intermittent. It doesn't run when you want it to, it runs when it wants to. One way to solve for that problem is to interconnect more and more of it together, so that at any one point in time, you have enough power being generated from those intermittent sources to supply the area. And that requires the transmission grid to grow. We have to invest more in it to get to those sources that are farther away, to interconnect them all together. And then if you look forward to really hitting our clean energy, our carbon neutral target of 2040, that's going to require converting a significant percentage of the transportation sector, which dramatically increases the amount of power overall. So when you look to the future, it's going to require continued investment in that T and ultimately in that D system as well. So
Okay, we're gonna do one more question, then we gotta move on.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, Steve, I appreciate you being here. I really wanted to say, one of the things, your engineering department, your guys who are out in the field working on construction projects that we're involved in with DOT, they're fabulous. They are the best. They're creative, they think ahead, unlike another unnamed utility. The question I wanted to ask though is about, not that we all love the deregulation system in Connecticut, but can you explain how Eversource owns offshore generation and is not violating the
gotcha.
rules in Connecticut?
So Eversource, large company, 3 states, electric, water, and gas, really across all 3 states. And then that offshore wind is a deregulated component of our business. So it's essentially, it's a standalone company under the umbrella of Eversource, but it's a deregulated component. But you're right, if I could just take a second on that, because it's pretty public that we're looking to sell that off that piece of the business. And really, it's getting right at the heart of your question. We are, our core business is a delivery company. It's to deliver that electricity and gas and water. It's not to be in the generating business. But Ørsted, who came here from another country, they're experts at building offshore wind. They really needed a local company that both knew the lay of the land and could do the construction to get it on shore. And that's really where we came into play. That's the big reason why we partnered with them to become a catalyst to get offshore wind going. That has now been accomplished. That's well underway. And we do have these other lease areas, but we're really looking now to sell those off, because to be in that business, you can't just you can't just be in it in the Northeast. It would really have to be your business to go up and down the East Coast, probably around the corner into the Gulf, to go worldwide to build wind, offshore wind, and that's not our business. So that's a big reason why, you know, it's very public that we're looking to sell that off and then take those proceeds and invest them right back into the T&D system. So that's our plan. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on. I
Appreciate your time.
One comment, what's the methodology for bidding in January and July?
Boy, good, really sophisticated question. So, we do have the ability to hedge. So even right now, when we were buying for this, July through the end of the year, we were also buying some segments of next year's January through June, but that's about as far as we can go. So a couple things on that. Very heavily regulated process. That's really the way it was designed. And the thought process was, again, if you're in a marketplace, which is really just kind of going up at the rate of inflation, then buying in those 6-month segments with the buying power that we have with 80 to 90% of our customers, you typically get a very good price. That's why for the last 10 years, the standard service offer has been at or below what you can get out in the competitive market. When it switches and you start getting these huge spikes between the summer and the winter, then you can start to say, boy, is that the right process to do? So we are in discussions with the regulator on should we change that? But again, I think they're wisely saying, let's not have a knee-jerk reaction. This has worked well for 10 years. Let's get some more data points, and then I think we will revisit it. And then the other thing I think is, because usage tends to be higher in the summer, I think there is an argument to say, even though it drives me crazy because I have to go out and talk about rate increases once a year, it might be almost balancing off from a pure dollars perspective for some of our customers, even though it doesn't seem that way. So a lot goes into it, but that's basically why. It's a heavily regulated process set up when the prices were tended to be more even and less volatile. And just one last thing, if I could, you know, again, we really appreciate you inviting us here. If you got any value out of this and you want us to come back to talk about a particular subject of your interest, just let us know. And obviously, anything that comes up short term, where you need an answer in the municipality or in the region, reach out to your community rep. We'll put a team together and we'll get back to you with the answer. So really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board? Anyone on the line from the board?
We received no requests online.
Okay, so then we'll move on to item number 2. This is the MPO meeting. So 2A would be the approval of MPL Resolution 2023-17 TIP amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. So you can see in the packet, you'll have the full details for all the TIP amendments, and I'll go through them quickly here. We have 3 projects. The first one is for service plaza mainline signs. This is along 95 and 395. This will be a federal project with federal dollars. The next project is retaining walls, project 3 and 3B, which is rehabbing retaining walls around the state. This is both federal and state money. And the last project is a Route 10 computerized traffic signal control system, basically along the entirety of Route 10 within Cheshire. This is a federal and state monies project. So I can see the recommended motion is to approve these projects, and I'll take any.
So move, Prospect.
Second. Done. Motion is made. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Item 2B is the approval of resolution 2023-18.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Federal regulation requires that MPOs take a performance-based approach to planning and project implementation. And so here in Connecticut, because of the interconnectedness of regions, the Connecticut Department of Transportation is responsible for setting many of these performance measures and the associated targets. So today we have 10 total targets we're going to be adopting. The state has prepared. Excuse me, we have 10 that are statewide and 2 additional that are just for our region. These involve both infrastructure condition and performance metrics on usage.
Okay, motion to adopt.
So move, Prospect.
Second, Auditor. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 2C, the approval of resolution 2023-19. Rich?
Yes, so every other year, the region prepares or the MPO prepares a unified planning work program. This document is what guides our usage of federal planning dollars as well as the state and local matches to those monies. In the 2024 and 2025 UPWP, we now have 7 total tasks. So most of the tasks that we've had previously are included. For one of the changes to federal regulation under IJA, we have added a task 7, which is complete streets planning. We are now required as an MPO to commit at least 2.5% of our planning effort to complete streets work. And so this includes the development and adoption of a complete streets policy, as well as a complete streets implementation plan. And so to ensure that we are billing the appropriate amounts and reporting on that adequately, we established a separate task for it. The full UPWP was sent out in the packet you all received earlier this week, and is available on the NVCOG website. We don't have paper copies on the table, but
It was sent as a link, right?
No, it was sent as.
You sent the full PDF?
Yes.
Okay. It's 100 and
Yeah,
something
it's
pages.
quite long. We did receive one suggestion from First Selectman Bowen, and we will be making one minor change to it to add the extension of passenger rail service north of Waterbury along the Waterbury line as one of the regional transportation goals. Happy to take any questions, and of course, the recommendation is to adopt the UPWP.
So move Prospect. Seconded Edmond Thomaston, and thank you for that amendment to it, Rich.
Motion is made, second, discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this takes us to item number 3, the Naugatuck Valley COG administrative items. So 3A is the approval of minutes.
Make a motion to accept, Zekin.
Motion.
Second Edmond.
Second by Moan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, motion carried. Okay, item 3B is the approval of agency's financial report and summaries for the period ending 4/30/23. Mike?
Thank you. So this is the finance report that went out beginning of the week for the period ending April 30th. We are 83% through the year, 10 months. Our current net position is about 155,000, which will be converging towards our year-end projection of 0 as the next 2 months unfold. We do have a cash balance of 886,000, and our general fund remains at 878 unrestricted. Other than that, we are on target for all of our major funds, and we aren't expecting any funding reductions at the moment. We're also working on building the budget for the next fiscal year, which will be discussed in next month's executive meeting. I'm sorry, next Tuesday. Next Tuesday's
The
executive.
23rd, whatever that day is.
And proposed for next month's board meeting.
Move to accept Prospect. Second Edmond Thomaston.
Okay, any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving along to the item 3C is the FY 2023 appointment of auditor.
Thank you. So this is required every year by OPM. Basically just send them a letter appointing the auditor. Our current auditing firm is King and Associates. This will be the 3rd year of their contract. The way the contract is, it's 3 years with 2 additional 1-year options for us to extend if we choose. I think they've been doing a great job with the audit coordination and everything.
But we're in the base contract still.
But we are still in the base contract.
So
And
there's no contract issue. This is just the affirmation for the auditor.
Okay, so I guess I would assume everybody's satisfied with our auditor and we'll renew his contract for one more year.
No, no, no.
No, not yet.
We're in contract. This is just notification to the state as to who the auditor
Well,
is.
I thought he said we have 2 one-year extensions.
You're right. This is the third year, and then after this, we'll have
Oh,
an extension. Sorry.
Why bring it up?
We got no choice.
All right, so we need a motion to,
To approve the appointment of the auditor to the state.
Second,
motion is made and seconded. All
George
those,
Sample Edmond.
all those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Right. We gotta let them know down here, George.
All right, we got the director's report.
Okay, I'll make this quick and then make a little room for Drew to talk about a couple of bills, under the legislative session. So next Tuesday, the 23rd, we've settled on, a meeting of the revolving loan fund committee. We have a couple of actions, for that. So there are 5 members of that body. And then followed by the executive board, full executive board meeting where we will be discussing the 2024 budget options, work plans, reviews, so on forth and so on. I just want to let you know, for those of you who are on the executive body or the revolving loan fund committee, I believe we have quorum, for both already. So we'll be good. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. Legislature says they're going to adopt the budget before Memorial Day. But we won't know about what happens at the pods until the end of the session. And then I'll be in Detroit at the National Executive Director Conference. The final week of first week of June. I'll be back on the second. Yeah, that's it for me. And Drew?
Highlight, there's 4 bills I just want to highlight for you from this past week, this current week. House Bill 6670, which is relates to MPO consolidation. This bill requires the Connecticut Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations in consultation with DOT to study the consolidation of metropolitan planning organizations and submit a report by January 1st, 2024.
Drew, let me just interrupt you on this one. So ACIR recommended this. It was a governor's bill. But as for those of you who don't know, they have no control. They cannot change the MPOs. Only you can change the MPO alignments. And the chief elected officials of the major city or the center city in each existing MPO and any proposed MPO have a de facto veto over any alignment. And I think it's 75% of the towns representing 75% of the population of the MPO must also agree. And then the center city must concur. But it's your, so they're going to study it. They're going to maybe have a recommendation for consolidation. It's something we can talk about more if it passes and as the study goes on. We all have our own opinions about how many MPOs there should be in Connecticut.
Yes, we do.
All right, so continuing, House Bill 6807, this is a good one, act concerning the issuance of local capital improvement project. So LoCIP money will be given to municipalities upfront rather than on a reimbursement basis. So if you have a project in mind you want to do, you got funding in hand versus having to say, hey, please pay us back for the work we've already done. So that's a good thing that passed the House unanimously this week. EPR of tires, which is House Bill 6486. So this bill requires the establishment of a statewide stewardship program to manage certain discarded tires. The Tire Stewardship Organization must establish and implement a system to finance the program that covers but does not exceed the cost to 1, develop the plan, 2, operate and administer the program, and 3, maintain a financial reserve sufficient to operate the program for 6 months. Furthermore, the bill provides free access to a collection system and ensures discarded tires are resold or recycled. It prohibits tire producers who fail to participate in the program from supplying tires in Connecticut at all. So this bill is on the House calendar. We expected it to be called this week. It was not, but we are urging support. Substitute for House Bill 6756, an act concerning certain appeals of determinations made by SHPO. This bill would allow municipalities impacted by SHPO decisions to appeal to a hearing officer at the ECD. So this is kind of a big deal for us as well. The goal will be to strike a balance among economic development, rehabilitation of the dilapidated properties, and historic preservation. The hearing officer would have 60 days to render a decision, which would be considered final. And this bill just passed the House yesterday, late afternoon. So a trend that I'm sure is not unique to this session. This is obviously my first year really paying attention to what's going on in Hartford. A lot of studies and a lot of task force for bills that don't have full support. So they're turning things into studies that they have to have an answer for by January or July of next year, and or forming a task force to study things. So that's kind of where we're at, but we have less than 3 weeks. It's pretty fast and furious now in 3 weeks. So
Regarding the EPR piece, so that might impact the suppliers to the state of Connecticut if it's passed. And if it impacts the supplier, can it not also affect their pocketbooks because now the supply chain is diminished and less competition? So I don't know if that's something we should truly support or not. I think it's something, all I'm saying is that's something that should be considered when we look at these kinds of things.
We didn't support it as Brock in the beginning, the way it was written, but then now we're supporting it now because of the changes that were made. And also Candelora, which is gonna work it like the mattress and the paint and all that, where it's not gonna hurt the supplier
and same
in
thing
the
with
front.
all those conversations.
Vinny Candelora, yeah.
Which is why it probably wasn't called. So
Vinny held the bill back. So, because now he's talking that they got to him, the manufacturers, so, but they're just gonna reword it, try to put some extra wording in there to make sure that doesn't happen, you know?
Okay, good to know, Tom.
Through the chair, on this one, the devil is in the next step,
Which in the
which is the reuse and recycling. There's no good reuse for tires. You know, as I said them there on the phone the other day.
That's the problem.
You know, you can't, we don't recap tires anymore.
No, we don't. We
Cars
stopped
go
doing
through
that years ago.
Right. So there's a problem, you know, they're gonna want to put it in asphalt mix. There's a problem with that, with runoff into the water courses. We don't put it on playgrounds anymore. We don't want to put it on football fields on turf. They're gonna let them for a number of years continue to sell it to the vendor in Maine, I think was burning them for energy, but it's just an awful, disgusting process. They've got to come up with a reuse plan. The stewardship plan, the ones that come out in the future, that's going to be the devil. So, but I honestly don't think that anyone's not going to participate. All they have to do is they can't let you take your tires with you when they change your tires anymore. You pay your $5 up front when you buy the tire, like you pay for your mattress.
Well, absolutely. Anybody who goes to a tire shop, they're already.
And it's gonna lower costs for the towns because you're not gonna have these tire dumps all over the place anymore. You're gonna have to clean up.
Drew, anything else?
I have a question. Drew, what's going on with the early voting regarding towns? I know it's done deal, but regarding town, I understand that there was going to be an exception for towns that require referendums for budget.
yeah, they didn't have really an answer for that process, to your point. So I think that's not going to be, they're not going to allow for early voting for the referendum, or you're going to be able to set your own rules for a town. It could be allowable, but it's not going to be mandated that you have to have early voting for your referendum.
Yeah, because I mean, we're like sometime, fortunately, my budgets always get voted in, by the way. But
Did not get their budget voted, to your point.
I got as much money coming into my town as you. I get too.
Well, I'll be at the next referendum then.
Question?
Go ahead, Bob.
Anything on the ECS funding for the underpaid towns?
They're talking about fully funding ECS. Speaker Ritter continues to say that. They haven't really tackled that in the House or the Senate yet, but again, with less than 2 weeks, as soon as that pops, I will let you guys know. I'll shoot you an email.
Is it out of committee? It's out of committee though, right?
Well, I actually don't even think it was.
Went to committee. Never went there.
It's in appropriations and it's in the governor's budget. For the ones that were underfunded, the full ECS, they're probably gonna stage it in 2 years. This
Thank
year,
you.
underfunded ones, and that's it.
Well, Mayor Bob, I'll put that, as soon as the information comes out on that, I'll shoot you.
Drew, any funding for the early voting next year? Has that come out? Because I know it was recommended by Secretary of State, but I've never heard anything more on it.
In terms of the funding attached to that, I'll have to get back to you.
Ed, I would guess that if you're gonna see it, it's gonna be in the implementer.
Okay.
It won't be in the budget.
Okay. Okay.
Quite honestly, I'd rather see them do something about special ed than stop worrying about the ECS.
I think we all would. That's where the big cost
It's a
is.
nightmare. It's a nightmare. All right, let's keep moving. We got to go on to the infamous emergency management.
All right, and today, Joanna is not here and John Field is not here and Josh is covering.
So I have an update from Joanna, who's having some surgery today. So, in the emergency management, there's a flood awareness workshop on June 21st. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is providing their Silver Jacket program with emergency management directors, CEOs, and planning and zoning officials. For the regional emergency planning team, there's a Homeland Security grant program for which memorandum of agreement are due September 1st, 2023. And apparently that process takes some time to address, so please plan accordingly. In terms of the community emergency response team, annual activity reports for 2022 are due June 14th. So the NVCOG staff, Joanna, will be collecting individual team reports and summarizing them. In addition, the Capital Region, Demas Region 3 are having a field day in Olympics that'll be held at Wesleyan University on July 15th at beginning at 8 p.m. I did also receive this morning a quick email from John Field who indicates that small business association loans administration loans are available, and you've received an email regarding that. Migrant planning continues. He mentions the senior official emergency management class was scheduled for June 27th at Western Connecticut State University, as well as the flood workshop. That is the extent of the report.
Okay. Item number 5 is the planning and transportation, 5A, approval of resolution 2322.
Thank you. Yeah, so as you all know, MVCOG staff is responsible for maintaining transportation improvement programs, which are the listing of all ongoing or short-term approved federal spendings for both the Central Naugatuck Valley MPO and the Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO. To date, that process has been very manual and done in Access, which is a program that Microsoft has backed away from in recent years. And so we set out to identify a new software solution that may be able to better accommodate this process. Additionally, as the CNVMPO petitions for transportation management area status, we will have to begin going through federal certification reviews and the other certification reviews that the region has participated in through our, because of the other urban areas that are included within the region. We've heard quite a few comments about public engagement around TIP projects. And so all of that led to a search for a new solution. Out of the search, a company called Eco Interactive makes the only software solution we could find that is fully federally compliant, improves the process that we already follow, as well as drastically improves the public engagement ability of the region. And so we're seeking to receive authorization for Rick to sign a contract. That contract is still dependent on a couple of things. The first is approval from CONDOT and the Federal Highway Administration to charge that directly to federal planning dollars. We have yet to receive a response on that, although we've heard positive feedback from both agencies so far. And then the other piece is the contract will still need to be reviewed by the agency's attorneys before we move forward. In addition to just TIP projects, we can also use this same platform to manage the financials of lots of projects. So similarly, we can improve the public engagement on the projects the towns are taking on under the lots of program, as well as improve the ability for the region to maintain those financial records.
How many other MPOs are we aware of and doing the same thing?
Yeah, so we know that the Western Connecticut Council of Governments and both of their MPOs are pursuing the same software platform, as is the Connecticut Metropolitan Council of Governments as well. So they are certainly moving forward. The Capital Region and South Central Region are similarly examining the solution for their regions, but I don't know for sure if they've committed to move forward yet. At the same time, the Connecticut Department of Transportation is in the process of evaluating this as an option for the statewide transportation improvement program. They've been developing an in-house tool for a while. And there's still internal discussions going on there between moving forward with the solution they've developed and the statewide version of the tool we'd like to move forward with. Either way, this will improve the way that we are able to receive and input information from the department. But of course, if they move forward on the same platform, it becomes a drastically simpler process.
That's what I was gonna ask the question of. Is this program gonna be synonymous or linked well with the states? So would it be in our best interest to just pause to see what direction the state goes in? Or is this just so much better and needed at this time that we should move on it independently?
So I'll and Kevin Tedesco is here, and I'm encourage the chair to let Kevin speak if he wants to add anything. The state has been threatening to adopt ESTIP since I took this job at VCOG in 2005. The MPOs are moving forward. We're seeking permission and approval from CONDOT and FHWA to do it. They have to give their approval for us to use the money to do it. If they give us that approval, I think that's a hopeful sign, and that they will abandon the in-house. I'm not looking, I'm sorry, I don't mean to look at you, Kevin. But abandon the in-house tool that they've developed and get all of us on one platform. But it will still be a market improvement for us, working with Bridgeport, working with Westcott. I mean, we overlap urbanized areas with 5 surrounding areas. This will be very helpful if we're all on the same platform, even if the state's not.
Yeah, whether they move forward with their in-house ESTIP or with the Eco Interactive tool, we still as a region will benefit from having this contract in place for the public engagement side. We still need to maintain our own TIP, regardless of the tool that the state is using. And so from what we've learned, if they move forward with the in-house solution, it has very little impact on the way we operate. We'll still receive amendments and changes in the same format we do now. And so this tool will still allow us to better record those and present them publicly. Or if they move forward with Eco Interactive, then of course it's a better process. But either way, we as a region benefit from moving forward with this now, regardless of the direction the state goes.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
Move. Ed Mon.
Second, Zeke.
It was made and seconded. Have we had enough discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Zeke, Kirby.
Okay, item 5B.
Yeah, so there's no action required on this item. This is for information. In December of 2021, Governor Lamont issued Executive Order 2103. Among the many other items in that executive order was a requirement for the Department of Transportation to develop a goal and a set of strategies around VMT reduction. VMT is the vehicle miles traveled, a measure of all of the miles driven on every road across the state on both the daily and an annual basis. And so several weeks ago, the department released their initial report on this and set a target of a 5% reduction over 2019 levels by 2030. The other piece of what's required for the department out of Executive Order 21.3 is an implementation plan, including specific projects. That has yet to be released. And so the region, our staff has taken on preparing a report in response to the department's release that is going to identify projects and plans that we've already identified, already conceptualized or studied that align with the strategies in the VMT reduction goal that we intend to send along to the department as they put together their implementation plan. We believe this is a good opportunity for us to ensure that some of our priorities, including transit improvements, complete streets implementations, and similar projects are all included as the department moves forward on implementation of this process. So like I said, no action required at this meeting. We are hoping to have that report done before the next meeting, and we will ask for endorsement of it at that time.
Okay, Rich, keep going.
Yeah, you're still up.
And so I'll run quickly through this. There's quite a bit of money available right now through discretionary spending programs. The memo in the packet that you all received details most of these. There are actually a few that also did not make it on that list. So just a kind of a quick run through of what's on the screen here. Protect is a federal program authorized by IJA for infrastructure resilience. Community connectivity is a statewide program funded with state dollars. We did hear at one of the pedestrian and bike advisory board meetings that this year's solicitation is likely to be used for selection of projects both this and next year. And so we highly encourage towns who have not submitted in this round yet to do so. And we of course have staff available to assist with that. Carbon reduction grants is another IJA authorized program that is to fund projects similar to what CMAQ currently offers. Not on this list is the climate pollution reduction program, which is also similar, but is a formula fund. And so NVCOG is participating across, we're using MSAs as the boundaries for this. And so we are participating in three regions who are all receiving funding under this. Reconnecting Communities is the IJA authorized. Neighborhood Access and Equity Grants is authorized under the Inflation Reduction Act. We did submit for this program last year, and we intend to submit a similar application to study neighborhood connectivity along Route 8 in this upcoming cycle. And we would like to do so under both programs. And if there are
Are
towns,
we planning to do that with Connecticut Metro?
I believe we're going to do so ourselves this time. Yeah, we found out in the last round, as much as they encouraged regional applications, more focused projects were what were awarded. And so with the Reconnecting Communities program, if towns have projects you would like to pursue, we can certainly provide assistance in applications. And then lastly is the Safe Streets for All program. Again, we submitted an application for implementation in the last cycle. We did our debrief with USDOT, and we're told effectively that our regional approach was a bit too broad. And so given that, we are considering going forward with a planning application for this year. We do encourage towns who would like to consider submitting municipal applications. We're aware of a couple already that have been considered. But again, if any town would like to move forward on a municipal application, we do know that the safety action plan we adopted in September does qualify. And we have staff available to assist and certainly talk through concepts for that.
Right. And any of the towns who are eligible for direct subsidy under any of the IJA programs, we will definitely assist you with preparing applications.
And then one last one that's not on here, and again, I apologize for this, is the Community Investment Fund, which is another state-funded program. There's quite a bit of money in that pot, and so again, we encourage everybody to take a look at it.
So Rich, what are some examples of the carbon pollution reduction grant?
It's going to be things like electric vehicle charging. We believe that similar CMAQ type projects, so active transportation projects or signal enhancements, will be included in that as well.
Can I go sideways one day on EV charging for a second? So as Savannah and Nicole identified for us, there's a problem with a statute that was passed last session, which requires EV charging in new construction in your parking spaces. It also provides for tax exemption for the personal property. The wording doesn't align between the tax exemption statute and the requirement statute. The requirement statute doesn't say who enforces it, whether it's site plan review or the building official, the whole bunch of mess going on with this thing. But it's in force today, correct? They're required to consider it today. Town planners really don't know a lot what to do with this yet. We have different opinions internally here as to how to interpret it. It's something that we're going to prioritize and work with the legislature in the short session next year to try and fix. But you should all be aware that you are required under all new construction to provide EV, have the builder provide EV charging stations, and that they are tax exempt. So the equipment. Something we'll work on.
Like the many programs that get rolled out.
It was just not drafted well, and the cross-cutting statutes didn't get done right.
Okay, are we done with item number 5? Any questions? We'll move on to environmental planning, number 6. The deep recreational trails recap. Aaron?
Thank you. So Governor Lamont announced the latest round of recreational trails awards last week, including funding for 9 projects in the NVCOG region. Naugatuck for design of a section of Naugatuck Greenway Trail between Maple Street and Greenfield. And Bristol for the design of the Quavic Trail from Rockwell Park into downtown. And Shelton for improvements to the Housatonic Riverwalk. Waterbury designed the Mad River Spur Trail of the Naugatuck River Greenway. And Ansonia designed the extension of the Naugatuck River Greenway to Nolan Field. And Oxford developed the Rock House Adaptive Trail Network. In Thomaston to design a section of the Naugatuck River Greenway Trail. Watertown for design of another section of the Naugatuck River Greenway Trail. And Wookett to improve the trail network at Scoville Reservoir. All told, this represents nearly $2.25 million coming to the region to improve trails. It's about a quarter of the $9 million that were awarded. So the region was really punching above their weight this round. In addition, Yukon Trails program was also funded, and that award includes funding for NVCOG staff to continue technical support that we provide to the Connecticut Trail Census data collection program. So each is anticipating additional funding rounds for the next 2 years. The governor's budget had $5 million each year proposed. So if you were not awarded this round, or if you didn't apply, there's certainly upcoming opportunities, and we're always here to help think through some ideas or help apply or help implement the projects that you were awarded. So congratulations to everyone that was awarded. Look forward to seeing those projects move along. Yes, we are. Finally.
I was gonna tell you, I get a couple of grants for trails extension over the years, and I sent one back because it was just too onerous to deal with, and I hope that that's not the case here. In fact, what they do is they build more regulations and specs into these things that it just drives the cost up, and you just don't know if it's worth having that grant.
Yeah, no, I think the one you're referring to was federal highway funds.
Yeah.
And even though rec trails comes from the feds, that's coming, all state, the rules are different. So.
I'll give you a quick example and then we'll move on. We were doing a portion of the road and our extension of our river walk that were parallel one another. The bid for the road reconstruction, everything was almost $350,000. The trail came in at $846,000. I couldn't bring myself to accept it, so we didn't. We did a design build, paid for it. I think we spent $2.25. So, and it was the same spec that we have all along the rest of the trail. This is some of the things you run into. Though.
It's in Richie's backyard.
Oh, is that where you living?
Mr. Chairman, Ed St. John here.
Go ahead, Ed.
Mayor, I want to kind of follow up with your conversation. I took a look at this whole grant request this year. And it would have cost us more money for consultants to kind of respond to this than it would be worth for the town to even venture into it. And it backs up what you have to say. I think this whole grant process is particularly skewed against those people who have existing greenways. That's all I have to say.
All right, let's move on then. And Rich, that trail is going through one way or another, so don't worry about that. All right, item number 6, environmental planning. We have MSW recycling update, Christine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep, the dreaded garbage update, but got some good stuff for you today. So I'm pleased to start by sharing an exciting update about the SMM grants. Middlebury and Bethlehem have each been offered trash reduction pilot grants for their communities. So congratulations to these very patient municipalities. So Bethlehem is currently in the process of negotiating their scope. And Middlebury has already passed the resolution to participate, and we're working on contracting and outreach planning right now. So as for our other 3 pilots, Rich, if you could go to the next slide. So I'd like to share the most recent available data. You'll find this in your packets, but I do have printouts if you need. This was just sent to me a few days ago. So if you could take a look here, Ansonia is our first town. Really, really impressive data here. So they've captured over 100,000 tons of food scraps so far. Their waste reduction is down 16% from the same time last year. And the diversion rate is almost 50% diversion being both recycling and food scraps over the total weight of waste. You'll also see that they have a really impressively low contamination rate in the food scrap bags of only 9%. So, excuse me, they're about halfway through their program. And so far the numbers are very impressive. I'll move down next to Woodbury, which is at the bottom there. Woodbury is a little different. Ansonia was a full city curbside pickup. Woodbury has been going for a shorter amount of time and is only transfer station, which we estimate to accommodate a little under half the town. But they've also seen a similar waste reduction. Their diversion is lower because, again, it's a lower percentage of the population that's participating. But they also have a remarkable low contamination rate for a program that's only been out for about 3 months. To have under 5% contamination is phenomenal. Seymour, unfortunately, is the youngest of our programs and does not have data yet. But if you'll go to the next slide there, Rich, just another way to visualize this, if you could click a couple times. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have animated it like that. But anyway, just to show that, again, the tonnage that's decreasing, that's all stuff that they're, instead of paying a tipping fee to send it to a landfill or a burn plant, they're instead paying a lower, well, the grant is covering it now, but would be paying in the future a lower cost to send that to an anaerobic digester. So really impressive and exciting data, and I'm looking forward to sharing more.
Christine, if it's clean enough, there are some digesters who may purchase the organics?
No, that's not the case. So the digesters, they offer a lower price than the usual tipping fee because they recoup some of that cost by generating the energy. We're unfortunately not really anywhere near having them pay us to get it, but presumably I have heard from Waste Zero that that is a potential for the future, but nothing right now.
So what constitutes contamination?
Sure, so
What are some of the things that?
Some of the actual things, because I've done a waste audit, I've gotten in the white suit and picked through your garbage. So in the green bags, we have seen, you would not believe, everything you could imagine. Everything from Christmas lights to clothing to things that are a little bit more understandable, like some people think diapers go in there. Some people think that packaging with the food goes in there. So your whole takeout container of leftovers you forgot about in the back of the fridge, they won't empty it out of the container. So these are some of the things we're seeing. But I will say that, you know, you can't really see it from this data. We have seen improvement as time goes on of people getting the idea and learning. So the education is working.
So Christine, have you looked into the California digesters that take contaminated waste?
Yeah, so every digester can accommodate a bit of contaminated
I mean, a lot.
No, I'm not familiar with that model, no.
I'll show you that.
Okay, great. And so what does it do? Does it separate out the?
Yeah, well, I just know it's being studied, well, we're studying it now because it, you know, will cover a much bigger category, but it is possible. Whether it's cost effective is always the question.
Yeah, and we are, I mean, I know for a fact that Deep is in conversations with international companies that are looking to locate here because they're seeing, wow, we have whatever 15 towns now doing these pilots and we're seeing good results. We are attracting industry. People are interested in Connecticut.
If we have, I'm just looking for a status, Aaron or Christine, on the Regional Waste Authority applications.
Yeah, we submitted them, no answers yet.
So I mean, our plan is still to put together this outline and study for a Regional Waste Authority. And that can accommodate any of the ideas that you have and allow you all to work regionally on this type of thing. Although right now there's more capacity than use for organic diversion plants in Connecticut. Right, they're not getting enough. No one's running it on.
I'm sorry, just parsing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can take a lot more waste than they are. There's only one big anaerobic digester in Connecticut in Southington, but it can take a lot more. There's also ones, there's Vanguard in Massachusetts and Energia in Rhode Island. Both of those are also, would love to eat our garbage. So can send them that way as well.
Clearly, the sensible place for food scraps to start is at an institutional level. We all have schools, we all have, or many of us have hospitals. We have those kinds of facilities where it can easily be collected. Far more difficult to get it done on a residential basis for multiple reasons. Yet the legislature does not want to focus in that direction. If they did, it would be a win-win for anaerobic digester communities at large, because whether you're paying for it when you pick it up curbside or where you're paying for it, your school's getting rid of it. That's where it could be a big savings to the communities, easily reached.
So Christine, does the grants not encompass the schools and the hospitals and
That these particular grants do not. However, there's already a law on the books that says if you're located within 20 miles of an anaerobic digester and you're an institution, like First Selectman Mo was mentioning, you are obligated, and you produce a certain amount of organic waste, you are obligated to send it there. There is also a bill in the legislature that maybe Drew can talk more on this to
They are
expand
going
it.
that way, to be honest.
They are gonna go that way. That would make sense.
Yeah.
That's where they should go. That would work.
Residents, schools, hospitals,
Yeah.
all that.
That came out of the speakers camp that we had.
Did it?
I mentioned that a few meetings ago, yeah. But that's what they were looking at. I don't know if they made it law yet, but that's what they want.
That's a logical step.
yeah, I would be inclined to participate in something like that.
Absolutely. It's an easy reach.
Aggressively inclined.
Those are easy, yeah.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of convalescent homes too.
Sure. And that's a dumpster on site, which is much easier to handle than trying to get residential along on that game.
Your point's well taken, but for the long term, you want to reduce the MSW tip you're paying. I mean, that's where the big money is going to be for the town.
But that happens with our institutions like our schools as well.
Yeah, no. If you can get people to start separating, that's the way to go.
Well, there's a lot of costs associated with that as well, Rick, that we're not even talking about here, and I don't want to engage in a long conversation about it.
No, not today.
Give me a call. I'd love to chat.
Christine would love to get on live.
We can sit down and bang heads on this.
All right, moving along, moving along. Item number 7, land use planning, Savannah.
I've got a couple more quick things here
Oh,
on
I'm
this.
sorry.
So just the composter rain barrel sale, we held it this past weekend, May 13th, at Waterbury's Brass Mill Center. So we sold 44 composters and 36 rain barrels, along with a variety of accessories. These figures do represent a drop in sales from 2022 and 2021. One reason could be that we only had a single pickup location, as opposed to the past years where we had 2. Although we are always proud to serve our communities by diverting organic waste and conserving water resources, COG staff will need to look at some alternative sales structures and explore all options before we commit to a future event. And I do have more specific numbers if you're interested.
We're going to reevaluate how this program works. It's got to be worthwhile. And if the private sector is handling it better at this point, if the drop off is because of Amazon, what are we doing?
He's starting to sound like you know it.
It's a lot of work for these guys. Not for me. But thank you.
All right, are you done, Christine?
One last thing, it's very quick, but it's a good one. If Rich could. Just wanted to bring this up. I know I mentioned it last time, but next week we are having a recycling training. It's open to all of your municipal staff and CEOs if you're interested. It will be hosted at Waterbury City Hall from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. CTD will be running the training. We're pleased to already have a bunch of RSVPs for this event. If your municipal staff has not yet signed up, or you're not sure if they're signed up, please feel free to come speak with me and we'll get you registered. And that's it for me, but of course I'm open to questions.
Is there an email that can be sent? I'm not sure that I was aware of it, so I think I would send some people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could definitely resend that.
Do we have confirmations from Sheldon yet?
I can check that right now.
You're not going yourself?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I didn't see it, so.
You have nobody from Shelton right now.
Don't have anybody from Oxford?
From Oxford, also no. We've got Plymouth, Watertown, Bristol, Southbury, Naugatuck, Cheshire, Prospect, Bethlehem. but I'm happy to resend that email to everybody and we tried to make it early to accommodate that.
Christine, could you please email me that first chart?
Oh, about the SMM?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just send the charts out to everyone and we'll re-forward that email. I'll give you some addresses, additional addresses, just make sure you have them. Okay.
Mr. Chair, move it along.
Okay, so we get the 7 now?
We can.
Savannah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Board. I've got 3 quick updates for you guys about what we've been doing in the Land Use Planning Division. The first one is that we will be holding 2 free training opportunities for your land use commissioners that will comply with the requirements set in the 2021 legislative session. We're doing these in partnership with the City of Ansonia and the City of Waterbury. And so the 2 training opportunities are going to be unique, so that if you have land use commissioners that are newer, we would encourage them to attend both training sessions. We encourage you to attend your municipal staff to attend, because we'll have state partners, we'll have institutional partners through UConn. It's going to be a really great opportunity. We'll feed you coffee and we'll get you a nice lunch. We'll network and we'll have ourselves a great time. So the first one will be Thursday, September 21st at the Ansonia Senior Center. And the second one will be Saturday, September 30th at Waterbury City Hall. We'll move on to the next one.
Saturdays, huh? OT.
Yes. Yeah. We'll
Wow.
plug it. No. Oh, no. Oh.
Well, not for me. I wouldn't get nothing. You know that.
We did one on a weekday because we know a lot of your land use commissioners are hired or in roles where they would be able to do that.
Right.
And then the Saturday one is for some of your younger commissioners or commissioners who ultimately have 9-to-5s that can't get there. But they'll get nice certificates. You'll be able to report to OPM that you've met your requirement, and it'll cost nothing to your commissioners in our region. So
So am I gonna send this out to you?
yes, yep.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And we'll get it out to our commissioner. My point with OT was for any staff.
For yours.
SN, have any of the other regions set this up, or is it just us?
They have not. We are. I pride myself on making us the best at everything we do. So that's why we're getting out there, and with BRIC support, we're definitely going to kick butt.
And both these sessions are different.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have state partners for a majority of them. The only one we're not going to have state partners is the required housing piece. We're going to try to see if we can find maybe someone at the Department of Housing, but we have DEEP, we have the State Historic Preservation Office, we have CERCA, we have CLEAR. We're running, quite possibly, in my opinion, the best training we could for our commissioners. And it's
Okay,
great.
cool. This will include some DOH training though, regardless of whether you
Yep.
get those people in as
Yeah.
as these requirements are rolling out. We all have to have these affordable housing plans and
Yes.
so on.
Yeah, and so what happened is most people go to the Wesleyan land use CBA training, however, didn't have the full hour of affordable housing that was necessary. So we're going to be sure whatever we provide for your commissioners, it's going to check that box. They don't have to go to anything else. It'll be one and done, or 2 and done if they're eager to attend both. But our goal is to make this easier for you all and your commissioners.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, once I get that email, I'll forward.
And then our second update. So our second update is that we held a lunch and learn similar to our environmental sustainability forums on planning for warehousing and distribution uses. We know that this is a topic that we're seeing in our region. And so it was held on Wednesday, May 10th. It's our intention in the land use division to hold learning opportunities on at least a quarterly basis so that we can help staff stay up to date on current planning and zoning trends and issues that are facing our region, which leads us into our third update. Is that as we begin to plan for the next year, our land use division is undergoing a renewed effort to really find ways to support your municipality and your staff through capacity building. And so we've met with about half of our region's land use staff thus far. All of the yellow stars are municipalities where we've met with your staff, and orange is where we're getting at the end of the month. So if I haven't hit your municipality yet, please tell your staff that I'm sending emails and looking to get together with them. But we want to better understand the current issues and opportunities that are facing your staff so that when we provide these opportunities, when we provide lunch and learns, or we write land use briefs, they're focused on things that matter to the issues your community is facing. So with all this in mind, we've held the land use lunch and learn. as well as published a new quarterly newsletter, which we did in collaboration with our communications, environment, and GIS team. And the newsletter included our first land use brief, which you guys have in front of you. It's a short form publication for land use staff and for your commissioners. We wanted to make something that you could have your staff give to that board that's interactive, that has some pictures. We know that statute can be boring to read sometimes, so try to find a way that helps engage your commissioners in the learning experience. And so this one was focused on accessory outdoor dining, which had changes to the regulations on May 1st. We've got lovely photos of Naugatuck, Prospect, Waterbury, Middlebury, and Ansonia in there, so please take a peek. And with that in mind, we're also working to aid your staff by supporting your land use commissioners in terms of education on special topics. So we're starting with Naugatuck Zoning Commission in partnership with their land use office. I'll be there next week talking about accessory dining in partnership with their zoning enforcement officer and planner. And I'm really looking forward to that opportunity, but I'm also looking forward to assisting your land use staff, your commissioners, when you have those specific topics that you'd like us to come in and help set the scene, answer questions, get a little deeper into. So finally, if you have a land use topic you're interested in discussing more, and to Rick's point about the EV chargers, if you want me to put my nerd hat on and explain it to you, I'll try to keep it short, just take 5 minutes. I'd be more than happy to discuss further with you. And if your staff have any concerns, please send them my way. Thank you.
Come on, this.
Okay, I think that's about it for today. Motion for adjournment?
Under other,
Second.
under other.
Go ahead, other.
Could we get somebody from the telephone company and CLMP talk about why it takes so long to replace telephone poles, especially at intersections where the pole is on the roadside of the broken pole and obscures trying to get out of another street or a business?
Well, Mr. Mayor, is it a state road or a local road?
All of them.
Okay.
All of the above, huh?
There you go.
I can't be the only town that has that problem.
CLMP for you first.
It's Ed St. John from Middlebury. I want to echo Mayor Chatfield's comments. We have 85 locations in Middlebury. We have as many as 4 poles in one location, of damaged ones still there, a partial, another broken one, and we have 85 different locations in Middlebury. And we have exhausted every remedy in the world to get our utility companies to address the mess that they've created.
You had the main
Sounds
guy
like a
here.
Pura issue.
You had the main guy here an hour ago.
Oh, yeah, I know. Listen, one other thing, just before you adjourn, I want to thank Christine and all the staff of the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments for all their assistance with this food separation grant that we're working on. It's going to be very successful, I think, for us because of our operation. And I want to thank Christine personally and the staff for all their assistance. Thank you. I'm done.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I do just want to also announce and welcome Heidi Cornell. She's our new communications associate. So you'll be seeing her face. You'll be getting emails from her as well.
Didn't we meet her last month? No.
No.
She's no. Okay.
Welcome.
That's my
Welcome.
fault.
What's the name?
By the way, that's Heidi Cornell, and that is my fault, and I apologize. We have another new person that's not here that I'm.
Okay, gentleman in the back.
Just to leave that with there, thank John, Middlebury regarding the proposal of Daniel Davis, Eversource, by the way. 9 times out of 10, I don't want to, throw anybody under the bus, but the poles that are, kind of there, is over an eyesore, don't belong to us because, our guys are pretty good and pretty quick about, removing, double poles or single poles that, been disconnected. But if you have any concerns, and they are sealing poles, they are Eversource. Feel free to contact myself, Daniel Davis, or another colleague here, Sam Carmody. And I believe most of you have our contact information. You don't ever take these up to going on. More often than not, they don't belong. They're not allowed.
Right, the ownership of these poles are all over the lot. Ed and Bob, did you get that?
Yeah, I got it. We sent it in, no response from any of them.
Okay, we'll make sure that, that the, contacts from the, community office follow up.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment,
Move
because I
again.
gotta get out of here.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you all.